السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Hope everyone is well. Bismillah, let's get right into it. Inshallah, we have an amazing topic today, something I've been researching for a while. And that is, how has basically modern Christianity and feminism ally together? How did they intersect to create the female first social order that dominates the West? This is the question. And how did it infiltrate into Muslim societies and Muslim communities? We're going to analyze today, inshallah, as much as we can of this amazing topic that I've looked at for quite some time because it's just too much of a resemblance. So I had to do a bit of digging, and I will share that with you today. Now, what the accusation is, or the premise is, that modern feminism and modern Christianity intersect and allied together to create the female first order, social order that dominates today's public sphere. And it has, and I make the case again, it has bled into and penetrated the Muslim sphere, especially in the West, in the Muslim countries as well, but specifically in the West. The imams, the da'is, a lot of the YouTubers, and you can see that especially in the last 10 years with how they have changed their positions on so many critical issues, specifically when it comes to family, men's role, female's role, an extension or an extended freedom that's been now allowed. So let us understand the proofs. So, traditional Christianity, if you look at the Bible, and I challenge anyone, okay, to look at the Bible. There's a big misconception. A lot of Muslims think that, the Christians, they don't have halal haram. They have halal haram. They have so many things that are common to us, to Muslims. Well, why? Well, because they're just a deviated people away from Islam. They've had the same source. Jesus alayhi salam was a prophet from Allah, but these people deviated from his message and from his teachings. So when you look at traditional Christianity pre-Enlightenment, let's break it down into the era. What happened is that women, there's a hierarchy. So it's God, man, woman, like in Islam, okay? Now, women had no spiritual authority. Okay, they were not to be imams or leaders or this or that, as obviously in Islam. A patriarchal family and structure was present in society and in all spheres of life. All right. What we do see, though, that the Christians, of course, they used to blame Eve for the fall of men, and that is in Genesis. We see Paul in the book of Ephesians 5:22, where he says, wives, submit your husbands. Okay, so you're looking at traditional Christianity here, not Californian Christianity, okay? Christianity limited women's rights, especially in law, education, and leadership. When we look at Enlightenment and liberal Protestantism, let's look at that era. So what happened is now slowly, scriptures were reinterpreted based on reason and humanism. The gender roles were removed and it shifted more towards like moral progress, individual rights, introduced concepts like Jesus was a feminist, Mary Magdalene was the real disciple, God is gender neutral, faith is absolute love and inclusion, and so on. So by the 19th and 20th century, Christianity began to moralize equality and empathy and compassion and forgiveness over justice, over order, over law, and over hierarchy. Okay, a lot of people think that this has been for like ever. No, it's not been. Which definitely perfectly align with the feminist goals. And you find the early feminists were actually often Protestant women who used Christian ethics to justify the fight for equality. For example, in the Galatians chapter 3 verse 28, they said that all are equal in Christ. So they use verses like this, tweak them, and turn them around And in doing so, basically, they started reinterpreting. That's exactly what we start seeing now with what some people are trying to do online to Islam, especially certain imams and so on. They were talking about Jesus treated women with compassion and respect. Of course, he did. That's fine. And then there was this movement to reform women and to seek public influence. Okay. And this made early feminism moral and motherly, not anti-religious yet. But it softened the Christian doctrine. You know, it's emphasized on forgiveness, emotionalism, egalitarianism. Does it sound familiar to the Muslims in the West especially? Well, I think it does. Promoting non-judgmental love, who are you to judge me, inclusivity, compassion. Now again, not that a lot of these things are not there for the Muslims. Okay? We have a lot of these things, but they're put in the right place. It's just that these people use these things to corrupt. As Allah says in the Quran, أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْدِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْدِ. So this theological shift in Christianity slowly shifted and paved the way for feminism to enter through what's called the emotional and moral door. Again, dear Muslims, does that sound familiar or not? Please try to review some of the latest videos that are put out by a lot of the people on YouTube, especially when it comes to the West, especially in the last 5 years. Now, let's see at what are some of the shared. Well, let's go back to feminist roots in Christian morality. First wave feminism, okay? So we're going to look at 1800s to 1920s. That's first wave feminism. A lot of people think it's later. No, it's that time. So women demanded the right to vote or own property and be seen as equal citizens. Feminists like Elizabeth Cady Stanton were heavily influenced by Christian moral reform movements. They argued that women were the moral backbone of society and so on. So now, feminism was basically born as a Christian Reformation movement. What are the shared values between feminism and modern Christianity? Let us look at that. So, emotional supremacy. In modern Christianity is love over law. Love over law. Okay, it's all about love and Jesus loved you and this and that. And as you can see with the feminist, it's all the same. Feelings over facts. Love over facts. Love over systems. Feelings over Sharia. Feelings over Hadith. Feelings over ayat of the Quran. No, I don't believe this is authentic. I heard a different interpretation. Blah, blah, blah. All right. Next would be the universal equality. All equal before God. And then feminists said, well, all genders should be equal. That's obviously going to change because we're going to see later on that, well, females are just better than men and they don't need men. Now you've had the victim-centric morality. Modern Christianity, love the sinner. Love your enemy. All right? And then, of course, in feminism, you have, well, just believe women. Women are the victim. Be careful. Then you had individual freedom. Modern Christianity, personal salvation. It's all about you, just a person. It's between you and God. There's no system, no good deeds, really, even though you'll see that in Christianity there is. Right? Keep in mind, these people go against Christianity, by the way. Right? It's corruption of Christianity itself. While Christianity is a corrupted version that deviated from Islam, feminism and modern Christianity is a corrupted version of Christianity itself. So individual freedom is personal salvation. Oh, and for feminism, of course, is bodily autonomy and choice. Rejection of patriarchy. Now, for modern Christianity, Jesus versus corrupt Jewish patriarchy, right? Jesus shows the Jews how bad they are. And then you got in feminism, well, it's the feminism versus the male power structures, right? So these are how it happened. Let's look at second wave feminism, 1960 to 1980. Push of sexual liberation now. Career, birth control. Now birth control is introduced 1960 on the dot. And it changed the world, and probably the world will never recover due to birth control. A lot of women think that it has empowered them, but I believe if they really, really analyze the situation and how what's brought to the world, they will find that actually it's not done so well. So Christianity adapted again away from male authority. They wanted independence. So churches began ordaining women. Focus on Jesus the Liberator. Promoted family as an emotional unit, not a hierarchy. And this reinforced the image of women as morally superior, actually, and victimized, and man as oppressive and disposable. Right? Now, how they transform Western culture? Well, even in Western culture, we're going to get to Islam in a bit. It was a collapse of the traditional gender roles. You're talking about like 1960s, slowly started towards the 80s. I was born in 83. Already there was the effect there, but I was still able to see, of course, in Western and Eastern Europe, a lot of the traditional roles. But Christianity once preached that man is the head of the woman. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. But now even churches preach mutual submission, gender fluidity, and egalitarian marriage. Feminism accelerated this by attacking the male head of household as oppressive. Right? It's always the whole story of the men have oppressed women for thousands of years, blah, 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 blah. Right? So that's what it was. So what this result is in confusion in roles. Women expected to lead, men expected to submit, but obviously this generated women being worse version of men than men themselves, and men being worse version of women than women themselves. Just a confusion. Let's look at the ideological merge. Feminism equals to Christian morality without God. Let's look at this claim. So when we look at the value, you have compassion. In Christianity, forgive endlessly. Forgive. Feminism, protect women's emotion. Women's emotions above everything. Equality. God loves all the same. Well, in feminism, gender is socially constructed, so it doesn't matter. Everyone's equal, right? Supposedly. Sacrifice, of course, for Christianity. Jesus died for love. In feminism, man should sacrifice for women. They should lay their head down because of all the oppression that they've done. Moral frame. In Christianity, mercy is above justice. In feminism, feelings are above facts, okay? Keep in mind, again, guys, what we are dealing with, because these things are observable in society, in the workplace, in education, in the court of law. In the court of law, okay? Sexuality. In Christianity, from sin to sacred self-expression. While in feminism, consent is the only rule. My body, my choice. I do what I want. So in this system, women have been now seen as moral authorities, right? They should lead. They must earn the right to exist. Men must earn the right to exist with them, around them, by serving them, right? That's why the whole damsel in distress, the captain save a woman. I'm not going to use the term that they use. But basically, man has to sacrifice, okay? Patriarchy is evil. And traditional masculinity is toxic, of course. Traditional masculinity is toxic. Now, what are the results? The rise of the female-first social order. That is the creation of this new system. So what happened is today, Western society is built on the sacralization of women and emotions. You have to understand, a lot of people don't get it because the terms are maybe harsh, but subconsciously you can feel it, and definitely you can observe it in society, in the way even policies are structured, in education, in law, in all kinds of different fields and spheres of society and life. So women are above criticism, even legally, actually. The assumed victims in most scenarios, no doubt. Okay, it's always like if someone hits a woman, they're gonna say, "Oh my God, what a bad person." This and that. If the woman hits the man, they're gonna assume right away, what has he done? Okay, it's like even us were programmed. If you see a woman hitting a man, most people will be like, "Man, I wonder what he did. Oh my gosh, she must be defending herself." Never, usually, in general, will they actually think that she's the perpetrator. Okay, given power over men in schools, HR, family courts, and media, right? Now, men in this so-called female-first social order, they are tools for service, so they can be providers. Their value's there, as long as they can pay the bills and the rent. Protectors, even if it's not the man or the husband, but, police officers, army, and so on. Or it could be disposable. Men go to war, let them die. I'm sure you've seen the very famous video of women being asked, like, who would you like sacrifice, you or your husband, right? And it's been done, I think, in Turkey, in Iraq. It's been done in Morocco. The same video, same question. Like, if someone is to go, who should it go? And they're always like, yeah, my husband. Let him. I want to live. Let him go. Let him die. Let him this. Let him that. Okay, so men are disposable, and they have been always, right? They've been the gender that can be disposed because they're not the fundamental element of the reproduction, right? You can have one man and 20 women, and reproduction will take place, and society will be pushed forward. But if you have 20 men and one woman, it is gonna be a problem, right? So men are always the disposed gender. Men are guilty until proven innocent, right? So if a woman, the Me Too movement, if a woman just accuses a man, he'll first be arrested, tied up, put in jail with all kinds of criminals. Then he will be asked, okay, then he will be checked and so on. It might be days, it might be weeks till he might be released if proven innocent. If proven innocent. The accusation is enough for him to go to jail. Socially penalized for expressing masculinity's boundaries or leadership, right? He's not supposed to. He's going to be a bad man if he does those things and so on. Okay. If we look at the pillars of society, the shift under feminist Christian morality. So law, you have to believe all women. Harsher punishment for men. Emotional testimony outweighs hard evidence. Today, if a woman cries in court, everyone is going to feel they're gonna feel so bad for her, and they're probably even gonna rule. Like, remember, it is a jury that decides in democratic countries, and this jury, a lot of times with a lot of females, will be, and even men, will be emotionally swayed by a woman's tears. Education, boys penalized for aggression. Schools favor verbal, emotional skills. That's it. Religion, of course, churches promote women preachers. God as genderless. Motherhood over submission. Media, well, women portrayed always as heroes, victims. So it can be victim, heroes, because they have mixed strategies, right? They're like bipolar. They're leaders, big boss girl, this and that. Guys are usually sometimes abusers, fools, side characters, evil, or they have to be tamed and changed for the woman, and she is his basically his medicine for him to finally make the realization that he was a bad man. So he transforms for her, right? You can see this in over and over in every movie, pretty much. And of course, the family, the husband must emotionally serve wives. Fathers are optional. Masculinity is toxic. Women don't really need men. Now, what are the consequences of this shift? Well, for men, demoralized, feminized, and uncertain of their role. Like, men are confused. They're weak, very weak. Legal system stacked against them in marriage and divorce. So you get married, you pretty much lose because you're going to be spending. You get divorced, you lose. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, especially in Western countries. And even now, Muslim countries are slowly changing their laws to reflect these Western Christian mergers. Shamed, men are shamed for strength. Toxic, again, the slogans come out, the terms. They're shamed for ambition or traditional values, right? Funny thing is, those same things that are bad for men and they were always masculine, they are good for women. So a woman should be strong, should have ambition, should do this, should do that, right? You find that it's this double standard. And you can see that it's not just a double standard nature. It's an inverse double standard. It's whatever the man was applying to men is now applied to women. The same thing that women hate on men and society hate when men do it, they are pretty much applauding women for doing it. For women, well, women are now, let's see the consequence of the shift for women. Well, women are more depressed. They're more lonely, infertility, being single mothers, so many problems. Even though supposedly they were supposed to have all this freedom, and the birth control pill was supposed to give them all this freedom, unprecedented amount of single mothers, while they're supposed to have been able to control that, right? Because they've been given the birth control plus unilateral decision whether they're going to be mothers or not, or they're going to have a baby or not. Okay, what does this mean for society? So what are the consequences of this shift for society? Well, birth rates have collapsed. We're below replacement numbers now. Masculinity is criminalized, female-centered morality dictating policies and policy writing, and religion is gutted of strength, leadership, and transcendence. Let's look at the media, education, and law. So how does this merger, again, we're talking about the merger between modern Christianity and feminism, how does it affect all these? So media, you got this feminist Christian compassion. The effect is the woman is the hero, the man is the oppressor. Education, you got a female-centric moralism in most of the education system. And effect is that boys are punished more and pathologized. The law, you got gynocentrism, and family courts usually favor mothers, and mostly when it comes to who gets the kids, it mostly be the mother, I think about 90% of the time. When it comes to their churches and the religious system, so it's obviously liberal theology. It's not conservative anymore. And I challenge anyone to read the Bible, man. And pastors, of course, will say stuff like Jesus was a feminist. And now even you have people say Muhammad was a feminist. You hear sisters saying that. It's crazy. Okay. Now, feminists gave obviously women legal power. Christianity gave them moral justification. And now society gave them social dominance. And that's why it's called a female-first social order. Now, let's look at the global impact. Muslim minds are changing. Okay, Muslim minds are changing. So Muslims raised in the West or watching Western content, which pretty much everyone is. You have to understand how powerful that is, that it's almost irreversible, and we've all fallen prey to this. And what is it? Well, Muslim raised in the West now, they're confused. They're shocked by polygyny, for example. Oh my God, it's so wrong. They're ashamed of gender roles in the Quran, so they try to change them. And they reflect this merger between modern Christianity and feminism. They view male leadership or qawwama as oppression. Most women be like, I don't want to be manipulated. I don't want to be controlled. They'll say the word controlled. Okay. They think Islam's family model is outdated, and that's why they don't follow Islamic rules and regulations. They make up their own or Western ones. They redefine mercy and love through a feminist Christian morality and not Islam. This is very important because many of the imams in the West fall prey to this. To redefine mercy and love through the feminist Christian morality and not Islam. And yes, indeed, this feminist Christian order has interjected into Islam, especially in the West, and it's definitely bleeding into the Muslim countries for the last 15 years, maybe even more. Even religious influencers now start saying, well, the Prophet was, like a feminist guy. You've heard this many times, he took care of women. Of course, yeah, he took care of women. He was not a feminist. Okay, people start saying crazy stuff like that. He married Khadija. She was a businesswoman. He worked for her, right? Islam is all about equality, and that's why I'm a feminist. Like here women, like even some of these women converting to Islam sometimes, subhanAllah, may Allah guide them. They say, oh yeah, I converted because Islam, everything is equal, and women, and this and that, and feminism, and so on. So, this is what has happened. So this is not Islamic theology, by the way, right? This is Christian feminist theology dressed in hijab. But we see it in the Muslim communities and in the Muslim country. So what is it? What we see today, this so-called thing that we practice, okay, it's just about prayer, fasting, and so on. But it is Christian feminist theology dressed in hijab. I'm going to repeat again. Christian feminist theology dressed in hijab. Others, mashallah, some of the mashayikh have even referred to it as Walt Disney version. But Allah knows best. May Allah help us. So now, what can be the Islamic correction? Let's look at the solution. What is the Quran versus Christianized or feminized Christian morality and theology? Right? And keep in mind that it's creeped into the Muslim. And the easiest test you can give to the modern feminized, feminist Muslim cleric and da'i and people living in the West is to ask them a few simple questions about hadith, a few simple questions about some ayat in the Quran, such as الرجال قوامون على النساء, or the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ who talked about submission of women to men, okay, or hadith about the Prophet ﷺ dealing with his wives, okay, and offering them the choice between him or to go, and many other things. Right? You can just ask him about those taboo things that no one wants to talk about his polygynous marriages and so on. Then you find that in every case, they'll always default to something, some explanation that it's not applicable, that it's not the right time, never to any actual proof, but always to this Christianized, feminized theology dressed in hijab. That's what they'll do. So you can test it very easily. Now, what can Islam do? So gender roles, Qawwam, men are the lead head. Okay, cannot. We don't agree. We cannot allow this to happen. The feminist Christian morality says no, female is the preference. Okay, what about marriage? Well, we have the guardianship and the hierarchy. Oh, in feminist Christianity, no. It's mutual negotiation. Everything's about emotion. What about leadership? Well, men are the ones leading, 100%. No. For a feminist Christian, women must be represented. And that's why we find that now they have to be in everything, in all the masjids, in all the projects, in everything of dawah. Women have to be there. They make it as like an affirmative action they have to take to prove themselves. SubhanAllah. I'm not saying that women are not going to be around and doing certain things, but this is an exaggeration. You can see it's done because of this, with this in mind. Sexual morality, well, it's chastity and boundaries in Islam. Well, for feminist Christianity, it's consent-only liberation. Oh, only God can judge me. No, you cannot judge me. My past doesn't matter. I'm a virgin, right? Even though I, had intimacy with so many men. No. Mercy versus justice. Well, in Islam, it's balanced, right? Allah is the most merciful, but He is also Maliki Yawmiddin. Well, for feminist Christian morality, it's mercy at all costs, and obviously always emotions and tears and love. And when it comes to salvation, it's faith and deeds for Islam, of course, but for the Christian feminist ideology, it is heart-based morality, no actions needed. Now, final thoughts. See, modern Christianity lost its foundations. We're talking about just Christianity. Forget about the deviation that is done from Islam. Feminists used it. It used its ruins to build a female god, really. And now society worships women, feelings, and equality like idols. Allah SWT says in chapter 45, verse 23, have you not seen the one who has taken his own soul in desire as a god? So, yes, they're not putting them necessarily on, but why? Actually, they are in a sense, if you think about it, how they idolize women on social media, on every men have pedestalized and idolized women to the point that, okay, worship is not the way like, oh, give me this, but that you're just always obsessed and always about them. If the Muslims don't return to the Quran and Sunnah, they will continue to bend Islam to fit Western emotions until there's nothing Islamic left but the name. Maybe, okay, prayer, maybe, okay, fasting, which everyone agrees with, right? Like no one really has a problem that you pray and fast, or you have your Eid prayers or Eid gatherings, or, these like multi-faith meetings. Hey, it's great to get along, no doubt, living in a non-Muslim country. But that's not my point, that we shouldn't get along, or we should be against each other, or that we, are not kind to women, or no. That's not my point. My point is for us to see the corruption and to stand on guard as Muslims to stand on guard against this corruption. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yani, protects us so we don't fall into what these people have fallen. Now, if you guys liked what I was saying now and you enjoyed this content, on my screen right now you got the patreon.com/GLRomani. This is for you, inshallah, to support the dawah because YouTube has demonetized us. So hopefully, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, till we get back, you guys can, inshallah, support the dawah. And just go to this link. For a very low contribution monthly, you can continue to help me making videos, continuing the lives, answering questions, and creating content that educates Muslims and refutes all these evil ideologies and these misconceptions about Islam. Again, it is patreon.com/GLRomani. All right, let us now go to some questions. As always, I want to give some time, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, to some questions, inshallah. And then, but please keep in mind the site. So, one of the people ask, I am in my early 30s. At what age will I be considered too old to marry a woman in her mid-20s? At no age, because the Prophet ﷺ married very young Aisha, and he was in his 40s or even 50 at that time. So men don't really have necessarily an expiration date when it comes to that. One of the people that I know is, I think, 68 or 72 right now, just had a baby recently from a younger woman who is his wife. May Allah bless them, alhamdulillah. So with men is not, but obviously don't wait forever. Like, you should do it as soon as possible. I always advise men and women to get married as soon as possible. Brother says, in my opinion, the first and second wave feminism is the reaction towards the Christian script. There are scholars who rewrite the scriptures which are against the human fitrah side. 100%. 100% it was, they interjected, 100% they had a connection. As I've proven in my script, what I've just said. And 100% it led to the shaping of the modern Western world. Assalamu alaikum. Can I ask you if Islam talks about women being from ribs of men like Christianity? If it does, then what about women who get divorced? Yes, so women, the Prophet ﷺ said that Eve was created from the rib of Adam. And he talks about women in general and talks about their crookedness, and that if you straighten her, she can break, and if you leave her the way it is, she will be crooked. This is an authentic hadith. I know sisters get upset, but you shouldn't. You should understand your fitrah. Just like men have a certain fitrah, and we are violent and certain things. So Islam comes to regulate that fitrah. Okay, women are like that, men are different. But Islam comes to regulate. The Sahabiyat, the women of the Prophet ﷺ, used to be worried and concerned with how they can fix themselves as opposed to how they can change Islam so it can fit their emotions. So yes, women are from the bent rib. Yes, they are crooked. And in terms of a deficiency, yes, okay, in their way. They're very emotional. Doesn't mean that they're not rational ever, but emotionality takes over. They switch very quickly, right? That's probably what the crookedness also means. There's that inconsistency. They're not as straight as men when it comes to many things, and something that is crooked can easily be broken. And the Prophet ﷺ said that breaking a woman is divorcing her. He said, try to enjoy her the way she is, but obviously if she crosses the limits of Allah, then a man should never tolerate that. She will have some mistakes, obviously, and so many things due to her fitrah. A man should be patient and try to advise her and take, love from her and give her love and take care of her, and she takes care of him. Have a family on that. That's great. But we need to understand the fitrah. So the same way that men have a certain fitrah, women have a certain fitrah, and women should never try to be men, and men should never try to be women. In Italy, the elders are still religious. The problem is the Middle Ages folks. Yeah, I understand. In many countries, still, some of the older folks are still religious, even in Christianity, but it's dying out because in these Christian countries, modern Christianity is coming from the West through popular social media. Okay, brother says, Assalamu alaikum. What is your opinion on women getting the ick? I've told my friends it roots from lack of masculinity, not following Quran and Sunnah. What's the root cause? Yeah, obviously, but an ick is like a manifestation of an emotion that is the opposite of attraction. So the ick, woman gets like ugh, and it's usually due to a person's looks, how he looks or how he makes her feel. If a man is strong and masculine, okay, but he's also clean, because the Sunnah and the Quran is not only about like him just being masculine in the modern sense. A lot of guys, they think they're masculine, but they don't take care of their clothing, their smell, they're not clean, they don't take care of their beard, of their face, and so on. So women get disgusted because women have a higher preference for cleanliness and certain things. They're more picky. So women will get the ick very fast. Unlike men, they don't get the ick that much, right? So most men would be willing to be with most women, but most women are not going to look at most men. Okay? So women can get the ick for many reasons, but it's the opposite of attraction. And it can be from hygiene, the way he dresses, the way he speaks, certain things that maybe a man cannot even change. A lot of women talk about like men's hands, for example, if their fingers are very thin or like they look very feminine or certain things, or I don't know. I've heard this so much about hands and feet that women get the ick from a man, or if a man is not like clean or right, certain things that he speaks very like weak. I heard this over and over and again for so many women. No. In your experience, what are some proper channels to get married in the West? Yeah, I would always say try to go to an imam of the masjid. Try to still use the traditional family and so on. Word of mouth, people that you know. In the last choice, then go to the apps. The whole West has reactions towards religion because of church dominance, which caused a long war against the church. Now they hate religion and patriarchy. Yeah, 100%. That's what they do, and a lot of times they reflect their experience with Christianity reflects upon their experience or no experience yet with Islam, but they make a judgment upon Islam based on what they know about Christianity. Now, yeah, they even say that to the prostitutes, that they're just sex workers and Jesus loves you, right? So they try to decriminalize and destigmatize certain things and use them as empowerment tools, right? And if you're against that, then you are basically an evil person and a misogynist. Assalamu alaikum. What is the ideal age gap between husband and wife? Is it harder to have respect if they're the same age? It is harder to have respect if they're the same age, especially if they're the same on many other things. Why? Because naturally women want to look up towards a man. It's just natural. And if they don't, they will look down upon him, right? So it's better to have not only in age differences, but you make more money than her, you're taller than her, and many other things. You're stronger than her. So that way she looks at you with respect, okay? So age is one of them. If they're the same age, well, hopefully they have differences in other things. Okay, because if a woman sees you as her equal, respect might not be there. There might be exceptions, but it will be very difficult. Brother, is kuhul loving or liking flowers and a cat a gay thing? Because those ultra masculine will say these are feminine. Or kuhul, first of all, the Prophet used to wear it, so how can it be gay, right? These guys are sometimes, that's why I said there's this version of masculinity that is away from the Sunnah, especially the red pill. Cats, or liking cats. There's nothing wrong with liking cats. Okay, Abu Hurairah radiallahu, he loved cats, and he is one of the greatest muhaddithin of our ummah. Flowers, I don't know, I mean, if you like, I don't know, like nature and like plants and stuff like that. I like farming, I like cutting wood, I like working with like planting stuff, even flowers, not a problem. You know what I mean? So it's not gay. No. Tell us how much time the Prophet used to spend with his family. The Prophet ﷺ didn't spend so much time with his family. He was very busy. He was either in battles, outside, doing dawah, and so on. A lot of people think they're just sitting around the house, just serving his family. That's not correct. It was a very, very small time, you would say. Yeah, he was with them, no doubt, but just in his life, he was just so busy that he wouldn't be always around. Now, what do you do when parents don't support you when covering yourself in niqab? They're against it and want me to wear Western clothes with a hijab, tight clothes. Subhanallah, man. Yeah, that's amazing that we have the sisters who want to wear the correct thing, but their parents push them against it. You do not obey them because فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. As Allah says in the Quran, in this case, you do not obey them when they try to make you go against Allah. So dress covered properly with hijab. Maybe not niqab necessarily, but at least wear proper hijab, okay, and jilbab and so on. Now, all right, what's the solution to the problem? Questions about the ick. Well, men need to understand if a woman, if a woman gets the ick from you, it will be very difficult to change her. You might want to move on to another woman, okay, meaning like find someone else to marry. If the woman tells you that you gave her the ick, that's probably not going to change. Okay, there's certain things about you that you might not be able to change. If it's just like, let's say, smell or cleanliness, then you can clean yourself. But if she's like turned off from you because of your height or your hands or skin or something like that, or your hair, it might be very difficult to change that. Okay. Okay, started being supportive of you, but I don't understand why you call divorced women damaged goods. This make me think like red pills influencing the brothers even more than I thought. Okay, I think it's in one of the podcasts where I mentioned, I said she might be. I didn't say all divorced women are. I think you've taken that out of context. I did not say, I said it might be damaged goods. Okay, and I was talking about specific things. I didn't mean that all divorced women are damaged goods. Okay, I was just talking about the trauma that a woman can go through divorce and that it damages her, and that some men will not understand that they are taking upon themselves damaged goods, and that this can be a problem when they don't vet properly. I never called all divorced women damaged goods. Okay, never. Okay, I have an issue with myself as a man. I see that I have some characteristics of a woman, like being too naive. I can't get some boundaries. I constantly get walked over by people. I can't make choices myself. This is the result of men being feminized. Okay, so start doing manly things, bro. Go to MMA, martial arts, go wrestling, go boxing, go outside in nature, go learn how to ride a horse. Do behaviors that are manly. Start taking care of your family, take responsibility upon yourself, start learning new things, get out in nature, help people, volunteer to take care of people, do manly things. It will change the way you think and the way you feel. Now, there was a girl from my past who I loved and left her when I became practicing. Turns out she loved me more than even me. Do I go for her? I'm heartbroken. It's been 3 years. Would she have forgotten? Move on, my brother. Move on. Don't be this romantic idealist, brother. You're going to suffer, man, even more. Move on. Men should not think this way, brother. Men should not think this way that, oh my God, she loved me, and 3, I'm heartbroken. No. This is, again, a result of this feminization, this Christian-centric, feminist type of movement, ideology, theology that has really infiltrated into the Muslim minds. The men are so weak. It will destroy you. Okay, it will destroy you. Move on, akhi. You have a purpose in this life. The only time a man will feel that way, if his purpose in this life is just a woman. When your purpose in this life is Allah, then you will not think this way. But you're still calling those women damaged goods, even right now. It doesn't matter if it's not all divorced women. That term just sounds very dehumanizing. Well, I'm sorry that you're upset, but sometimes I have to use strong words, okay? Some women are damaged, traumatized, whatever you want to call them, okay? They are damaged, okay? I will try to choose my words more carefully, inshallah. That I can promise, and I apologize if some words sometimes out of me come as a bit harsh. I would try to say meaning, but I do understand your point, and I promise that I will choose better words, inshallah, because you do have a point, and you're right that these sometimes the words can hurt people, but the meaning behind it, I still support that sometimes women are traumatized and damaged. But yeah, I get your point, and I apologize, and I will try to work more on choosing my words better. Sometimes we make these mistakes, or these words seem harsh. We don't really think about them. We're trying to say something, but maybe the words can be definitely chosen better. So that is, inshallah, I promise I will do my best to choose better words when I explain certain concepts, even though the concepts might be right. I can see where some people might not even listen because maybe I just chose the wrong words and it might rub them the wrong way. So I will do my best, inshallah. If women are for ribs, does that mean that she can be created from ribs of multiple men? So I misunderstood the concept. No, it's basically saying that the female nature is like that. You understand? That hadith of the rib talks about basically Eve, because she was created from the rib. But it goes to show that that genetic code has been passed on to all women. Okay? Has been passed on to all women. Okay? Now, so I hope you understand that, yeah? No. Okay. طيب. All right, brothers and sisters. Okay, I hope you understand. Now, the brother, she's a Muslim. It's not like she's going for, I'm going for Hindu or Kafir. It doesn't matter if she's a Muslim, my brother. Move on, bro. It doesn't matter. It's okay. I believe you should move on, because not just only because of the emotions they have for her, too strong, too dangerous to feel like that towards a woman. Even if she's a Muslimah, she's a good Muslimah, too dangerous for you to feel that way. This is always my advice to the brothers when they feel so crazy, when their hearts are broken by a woman, this and that, and even if it's a Muslim, it doesn't matter. It will really, really push them away from their main objective in life. Now, okay, men are damaged goods after divorce as well. I think men are more like chiseled from trauma, while women get crippled because we're wired differently with our brains. You can see when you look at divorces and how and who behaves how after divorce, you can probably see the difference. I'm not saying that all men are going to be perfect after divorce. Of course, men get affected big time, 100%. It's just that it's a different way in general. Even when it comes to sexually, right? You have to understand it's very, very different. The problem with Joanne is you're making the fallacy of equating the two. Okay, while I do agree that some men will have damages and will have, it's not like 0 or 100, no. Women only and men no. But I'm talking about overall, the outcomes of divorce and pasts will affect women much more than they do men. It's never like everything for men, nothing for women. It's always different ratios. Now, all right. Okay, I mean, I apologize to the sister, and I said that I'm gonna, try my best to find better words, but it seems like she's upset too much, so she keeps commenting. I'm not teaching women to be hopeless. I'm teaching women to be realistic and to reevaluate their values. And I'm talking about to those women who come in with these inflated sense of value and their big heads, thinking that they're perfect and that they're basically whatever happened in the past is not going to affect what's in the present. They come in lying and deceiving the men that they're perfect, and then men will make the wrong choice in evaluating them. Okay, they bring a self-inflated sense of value into the marriage, and they know though they're not humble enough to recognize where they're coming from, right? That's the women that I was talking to, not women who are sincere and they've made tawbah and they're trying their best and so on and so forth. Okay, Now, all right. Jazakallahu khair. I got only 2 minutes and then I have to stop. Joanne says men are traumatized worse. I disagree. Research doesn't support what you are saying. You can share that research. There's a lot of research on this, and a lot of contradiction in the research. But again, I didn't fully disagree with you. Men are also traumatized, but men have just a better way of dealing with things. They're stronger and they can bounce back. But I do agree with you, but a lot of weak men, and due to their weakness and being feminized, a lot of them are traumatized after divorce, right? But again, men are wired differently than women. In a sense, as I said, it's not 1/100. You can easily go towards looking at much of the research on this, not only present research, but past as well, and so on. Okay, now. Okay. Yeah, Alia, he is wrong. Okay, well, you can prove me wrong. You can disagree with me. I don't think I'm wrong based on my research. Based on the men and the women that I've worked with over the past 21 years, I'm not only looking at the research that sometimes goes against each other, I'm looking also at what's in the trenches. Okay, now. Okay, type guys, I do have to go, only 1 minute. May Allah bless all of you. It's okay. Inshallah, we can disagree on certain things, Joanne and everyone. In the end of the day, it is what it is, right? Just look at the outcomes. For me, working for 21 years as a counselor, I see women really suffering due to divorce in many things, in their psychology, in the way they are, in what they bring into the new marriage, and many, many other issues. But I do tend to agree with Joanne also in the sense that the tide is shifting and men are becoming weaker and weaker. Broken hearts, they can't get over women, they're suffering, weak, they doubt themselves, they don't have confidence anymore. So from that perspective, in a sense, I can see where Joanne is coming from. But I still believe naturally men are wired differently, and in general, adversity and problems are going to or can chisel them better, while women in general, they can get more crippled. In general, it's not, again, as I said, 1 or 100. There's different gradients, and Allah knows best. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.